Good morning, everyone. I am Dean Rocky Duhungko, and one of the subjects I teach is tax law review, especially for bar candidates. So this lecture will focus on income taxes, and it comes in three parts. However, this lecture is not just limited to bar candidates, but also law students taking up tax 1 can also learn from this lecture. Now, this lecture is a simplification of the principles that are pertinent to tax 1. So magagamit niyo siya para mas maintindihan niyo yung mga principles under income taxes, because as we all know, tax is a very technical subject and it's quite difficult to understand. So my aim in doing this lecture is to simplify the principles related to income taxes so the law students can have a better understanding of the concepts. So this is my lecture on income taxes. It comes in three parts. Part 1 will be about kinds of taxpayers. Part 2 will be about gross income, what is to be included and excluded. And of course, it includes the allowable deductions also. And then the third part will be about income tax rates and withholding taxes. Okay, so before we begin, I would just like to remind students, it's better if you listen to this lecture with your Caudal. No? I'm not endorsing any particular brand ng Caudal, but baka naman, joke lang. But it's better that you have your Caudals with you when you're listening to this lecture so you can easily refer to the actual provision when I discuss them. So makikita nyo kung ano talaga yung ibig sabihin ng provision na yon. Alright? So let's start. When it comes to income taxes, we have to know what are the different kinds of individual taxpayers. And according to the 2024 bar syllabus issued by bar chairman Justice Mario Lopez, he refers to section 23, General Principles of Income Taxation in the Philippines. Oh, by the way, for those taking the 2024 bar exam, please take note that the cut-off date for rules and jurisprudence for the 2024 bar exam is June 30, 2023. So anong ibig sabihin nun? That means that only amendments introduced by train law and create law are included in the 2024 bar exam. Please exclude the amendments introduced by the Ease of Paying Taxes Act, because yung EOPT, it became effective only last January 22, 2024. So excluded na siya sa coverage. So if you are taking the 2025 bar exam, kasama na yung EOPT. Anyway, I will issue another lecture, this time including EOPT na, when the time comes for review season ng 2025 bar exam. So just remember, for 2024, ang kasama lang ay train and create law. Okay? So for section 23, General Principles of Income Taxation in the Philippines. So this table is supposed to help you better understand and remember kung ano ba yung mga taxable para sa mga individuals as regards their income taxes. So as you can see in the columns, the column headers are citizens and aliens, because there are three factors considered when it comes to general principles. The first one is citizenship. So we have to determine whether the taxpayer is a citizen or an alien. And then another factor considered, the second one, is residency. So chine-check din natin if the taxpayer is a resident or a non-resident. And then the third factor to determine the taxability of an individual is the situs of the income. Saan ba niya na-earn ang income na ito? Was it earned from within or from without? So was the income earned from within the Philippines or from outside the Philippines? So as you can see, no, please refer to your caudals. In section 23A, what does it say? A citizen of the Philippines residing therein is taxable on all income derived from sources within and without. So as you can see, nandito siya sa nandito siya sa top left na box. So Section 23A, a resident citizen is taxable only on income from within. All right? Next, 23B, a non-resident citizen is taxable only on income derived from sources. Okay? And then the third one, an individual citizen of the Philippines who is working and deriving income from abroad as an overseas contract worker. So OCW siya or pwede siyang maging seaman, taxable lang din siya on income from within. And then, letter D, an alien individual, whether a resident or not. So makikita nyo, dun sa alien column, naka-refer siya, both boxes sa 23D. No? It doesn't matter whether resident or non-resident. Basta kung alien individual siya, taxable only on income derived from sources within the Philippines. So what's the importance of laying out the concepts in this way? As you can see from this table, only the resident citizen is taxable on global income. Pero all kinds of other taxpayers, all other kinds of taxpayers, we have to determine whether their income is from within or from without. So, pag within, we have to include it in their gross income. But if it's from without, we have to exclude it from their gross income because they are not taxable on their income from without, right? So hindi ko na sinama dito, but just take note, under 23E and F, these subsections pertain to corporations. So for domestic corporations, taxable din siya from within and without. But for foreign corporations, taxable only on income derived from sources within. Okay? As you can see, hindi pareho, also from this table now, as you can see, hindi pareho ang non-resident citizens at ang overseas contract worker. This is a common mistake made by law students because they equate OCWs with non-residents. No, they are very much different. Because had they been the same, edi sana sinama na lang din yung overseas contract workers dun sa non-resident, di ba? But as you can see, the tax code provided a specific subsection, which is 23C, for overseas contract workers. Okay? So later we will see, no, when we go to the definition of a non-resident, bakit magkaiba? Ano ang pagkakaiba ng isang non-resident sa overseas contract worker? Alright? So next, ano ba ang ibig sabihin ng term na non-resident citizen? We look at section 22E. Kung mag-fall under ka, under any of these four enumerations, ibig sabihin, the individual will be deemed as a non-resident citizen. And again, what's the importance of that? The importance is a non-resident is taxable only on income from within. Ibig sabihin, lahat ng income nila sourced from outside is excluded from gross income. One of the things that most law students misunderstand about the term non-resident is that they equate it with the length of time the non-resident citizen stays abroad or stays in the Philippines. That is wrong. No? Because as we can see later, pag inisa-isa natin to, out of the four items here, lahat ng tatlong items dito are related to intention. Only one item is related to length of stay. Okay? So, hindi automatic na dahil mas matagal nagstay sa Philippines, resident. Pag mas matagal nagstay abroad, non-resident. No, it is actually intention that governs whether a non-resident is one or not, right? So let's go through it. Number one, a citizen of the Philippines who establishes to the satisfaction of the commissioner the fact of his physical presence abroad, eto na, with a definite intention to reside therein. So you can see, sa first item pa lang, length of stay is not being considered. What is important is that this person, the citizen of the Philippines, has a definite intention to stay abroad. No, yung physical presence niya abroad and a definite intention to stay abroad. Again, length of time is not considered. For the second one, ano sabi? A citizen of the Philippines who leaves the Philippines during the taxable year to reside abroad. So, umalis sa Pilipinas anytime of the year, kahit December na siya umalis, di ba? Bakit siya umalis? Either as an immigrant or for employment on a permanent basis. Again, length of time is not considered, but it is the intention to leave the Philippines either as an immigrant or for employment and magstay na siya sa abroad on a permanent basis. Wala na siyang intention to return to the Philippines. So, kagaya ng sinabi ko kanina, what if December na umalis yung ating non-resident citizen? So, ibig sabihin, 11 months na sa Pilipinas siya. 1 month lang siyang nasa abroad. No? Pero nung umalis na siya as an immigrant or for employment at wala na siyang balak bumalik ng Pilipinas. Will this taxpayer be considered a non-resident citizen? 11 months sa Philippines, 1 month lang sa abroad. The answer is yes, non-resident citizen pa rin siya. Sasabihin nyo, Dean, hindi ba unfair? 11 months siyang nandito, tapos 1 month lang siya abroad, tapos non-resident citizen ang treatment sa kanya. Bakit naman maging unfair? 'Di ba? Because remember, a non-resident citizen is still taxable on income derived from within. So, ibig sabihin, lahat ng kinita nitong umalis during his or her 11-month stay in the Philippines, 'di ba? Those are still taxable. Income is still taxable. Only that 1 month na umalis na siya ng Pilipinas as an immigrant or as a permanent employee, yun lang naman ang hindi matataksan sa Philippines. So it's not unfair. It's still a very logical rule. Alright? So again, for number 2, hindi rin considered ang length of stay. Alright? Sa third one, dito na mako-consider ang length of stay. At citizen of the Philippines who works and derives income from abroad, so sa abroad siya nag-work, and yung employment niya requires him to be physically present abroad most of the time during the taxable year. When we say most of the time, anong ibig sabihin nun? 183 days. So, ibig sabihin, out of 365 days, 183 days nasa abroad siya. His or her work requires this employee to be physically present abroad most of the time during the taxable year. So this is the only instance amongst these 4 items here that considers length of stay. Doon lang siya mahalaga. Alright? Next, a citizen who has been previously considered as non-resident citizen and who arrives in the Philippines at any time during the taxable year. Anong intention niya? Bakit siya bumalik? Dito na siya magre-reside permanently in the Philippines. Ano ang treatment sa kanya? This person shall be treated as a non-resident citizen in the taxable year which he arrives in the Philippines with respect to income derived from sources abroad until the date of his arrival in the Philippines. So again, as you can see in number 4, length of time or length of stay is not considered. Ang intention na kinoconsider dito is bumalik na siya ng Pilipinas to reside permanently in the Philippines. And as you can see, there is a precondition. No? Ano yun? Dapat previously considered siya as a non-resident citizen. Bumalik lang siya ng Pilipinas para dito na ulit mag-permanently reside. And ang treatment sa kanya, non-resident siya for the taxable year only until the date of his arrival in the Philippines. Alright? So I hope that clarifies, no, that length of stay is not the only factor in determining whether a citizen is a non-resident or not. No? So if we go to slides back, di ba kanina sabi natin, if the taxpayer is a resident citizen, doesn't matter. We don't have to determine whether the income is from within or from without. Kasi lahat naman yan taxable eh. A resident citizen is taxable on global income. But if the person involved is a non-resident citizen, is an OCW or seaman, or is an alien, kailangan malinaw sa atin if the income is derived from sources within or from sources without. Bakit? Kasi kung from within, include in gross income. Taxable yan sa Pilipinas. Pero kung source from without, exclude from gross income. Kasi hindi na yan magiging taxable sa Pilipinas. Alright? So, how do we know if the income is sourced from within or from without? Punta tayo sa section 42. How do you read section 42? You only need to look at section 42A and 42C. As law students, ito na yung pinakasimpleng way para maintindihan nyo siya. Okay? For the other provisions, huwag nyo munang masyadong tignan. Siguro pag naging tax lawyers na kayo, you can refer back to them. Alright? For a more detailed explanation. But for now, ang mahalaga lang na maintindihan nyo is section 42A and section 42C. Okay? I'll show you why. So, section 42A, anong sabi? Gross income from sources within the Philippines. So, if it's included in the enumeration under section 42A, they are to be deemed as sourced from within the Philippines. Okay? So, how about for interests? Anong sabi? Interests derived from sources within the Philippines and interests on bonds, notes, or other interest-bearing obligation of whom? Of residents, corporate, or otherwise. Again, this is where most law students make a mistake. Bakit? Iniisip nila yung place of execution ng debt instrument ang magdedetermine kung from within or from without. No, that's wrong. Because as you can see, it is the residence of the debtor that determines whether the interest on the debt instrument is sourced from within or from without. If the debtor is a resident, corporate or otherwise, then the interest doon sa pagkakautang ng resident na yon that is considered as sourced from within the Philippines. If the debtor is a non-resident, therefore, the interest is deemed as sourced from without. Right? Next, section 42A2. As regards dividends, anong sabi natin dito? If the dividends received is from a domestic corporation, it is deemed as sourced from within the Philippines. Although, as you can see sa next item, there are instances when dividends from a foreign corporation can also be deemed as sourced from within the Philippines. Yun nga lang, mas maraming conditions. No? I leave that to you guys. Basahin nyo na lang. But the more important portion here is that if the amount received as dividends is from a domestic corporation, it is to be deemed as sourced from within the Philippines. Right? Next, services. Ito mahalaga. Compensation for labor or personal services performed in the Philippines are deemed as sourced from within. So sa ano ang tinitignan dito sa services? If they are performed in the Philippines. And when we say performed, the service provider must be physically present in the Philippines when the services are performed. So it's the physical location of the taxpayer. Kung nandito siya sa Pilipinas, nung ginagawa niya yung services, and nakatanggap siya ng compensation or fees for those services, those compensation or fees are deemed as sourced from within the Philippines. Andito siya eh. But if the service provider is physically present abroad nung nirender yung services, the compensation received for those services are deemed as sourced from without. Right? Next, rentals and royalties. How do you know if it is sourced from within? Rentals and royalties from property located in the Philippines or from any interest in such property, including rentals or royalties. So it's the location of the property na nagbibigay ng rentals and royalties that will determine the situs. And last but not the least, sale of real property. Gains, profits, and income from sale of real property located in the Philippines. Location also determines the situs. Alright? So, Dean, paano naman yung income from source without? let's look at section 42C. This is much simpler. Bakit? Look at the enumeration in 42C 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, tingin ulit tayo sa caudal natin, ha? Dapat hawak niyo yung caudal nyo. So, anong sabi sa section 42C 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? No? Basically, it says, interest other than those in subsection A, dividends other than those in subsection A, compensation for labor performed without. No? Sa lahat ng kabaliktaran, nitong nakikita nyo sa slide na to ngayon, those are income sourced from without. Alright? So, ang pinakamahalaga talaga is section 42A. Kung nandyan kung nandyan yung income, no, you can use these subsections as guides to determine whether the income was sourced from within or from without. Right? Next. Okay, so let's answer this 2018 bar exam question. This is Crunch Consulting, a Philippine corporation engaged in architectural design, engineering, and construction work. Its principal office is in Makati City, pero marami siyang project in the country and abroad. So si KKI employs both foreign and local workers, and the company has adopted a policy that the employee salaries are paid in the currency of the country where they are assigned. So yung currency lang, no? So that is not an important factor in answering the questions here. Diba? So below are some of the employees of KKI. Determine whether the compensation they received from KKI in 2017 is taxable under Philippine laws and whether they are required to file tax returns. Yung whether they are required to file tax returns, hindi na muna natin sasagutin. So pertinent to this portion of the lecture is the question, determine whether the compensation they received in 2017 is taxable under Philippine laws. Okay? So A, Chris Conejero, a Filipino accountant in KKI's tax department in the Makati office, and married to a Filipino engineer also working in KKI. Remember, no, nag-remind si Justice Mario Lopez that the answer of the bar examinee should follow the CLA format. Ano yung CLA? C is for conclusion, L is for your legal basis. So your legal basis must be something that is based in law or jurisprudence. And then A is your argument, whether inductive, deductive, which is basically applying your legal basis to the facts given in the problem. All right? So using the CLA method, si Chris Conejero ba, a Filipino accountant in Makati office, is he taxable in the Philippines for the compensation he received in 2017? The answer is yes. As a resident citizen, Chris Conejero is taxable in the Philippines. Under the tax code, a resident citizen is taxable on income from all sources within or without. Therefore, Chris Conejero is subject to Philippine taxes on all income received. Okay? Simple as that. Simple lang. Iklian lang natin. Huwag na natin masyadong habaan yung sagot. Tulungan na natin yung examiner dahil marami pa siyang i-check. Okay? Next is Klaus Kloner. Letter B, Klaus Kloner, a German national who heads KKI's design department in its Makati office. So based on this line, si Klaus Kloner ay isang resident alien. So taxable lang siya on income from within. Nasa Makati office siya. So applying section 42, yung natatanggap niyang sweldo while working in the Makati office is deemed as sourced from within. Right? So how do you formulate your answer? Klaus Kloner is taxable. Yes, Klaus Kloner is taxable in the Philippines on his compensation for 2017. Under the tax code, a resident alien is taxable only on income from within the Philippines, and that compensation for services performed within the country are considered as sourced from within. Therefore, Klaus Kloner, a resident alien, is taxable on income received while working in the Makati office. Right? Letter C, Crisanto Conde, a Filipino engineer in KKI's design department, na, who was hired to work in the principal office last January 2017. Ang swerte naman ni Crisanto, in April 2017, pinadala na siya sa Jakarta, Indonesia, and the project is expected to be completed in 2019 pa. So let's analyze this. From January 2017 to March 2017, nasa Makati office siya nag-work. Pero from April 2017 to December 2017, pinadala na siya sa Jakarta, Indonesia. Pasok siya sa third definition ng isang non-resident citizen. Bakit? Because yung employment niya requires him to be physically present abroad for the most part of the year. 3 months siyang nasa Philippines, 9 months siyang nasa Indonesia. So anong sagot? Hindi na ba siya taxable sa Pilipinas? Taxable pa rin siya. Only on portion earned from within. Diba? So our answer is yes, Crisanto Conde is taxable in the Philippines, but only for that portion earned from January to March 2017. Under the tax code, a non-resident citizen is defined, one of the definitions of a non-resident citizen is one whose employment requires him to be physically present abroad for the most part of the year. In the instant case, Crisanto Conde is deemed a non-resident citizen, considering that out of the 12 months in the year, he was required to work in Jakarta, Indonesia from April to December 2017. As such, he is only taxable on income earned from within the Philippines. Next, letter D. Camilo Conde, Crisanto's brother, also an engineer assigned to KKI's project in Taipei. Since KKI provides for housing and other basic needs, Camilo requested all his salaries be paid to his wife in Manila. Question, guys, is the place of payment of the salaries important? The answer is no. As we have discussed earlier under section 42, it's the place of the performance of the services that determines where, not the taxability or where the situs of the income is. In this sub-number, si Camilo is in Taipei nung nag-render siya ng service. So, in this case, si Camilo ay isang non-resident citizen. So, the answer is no, Camilo Conde is not taxable in the Philippines for 2017. As a non-resident citizen, he is only taxable on income only from within. Considering that his services were performed in Taipei, Taiwan, his compensation for such services are to be deemed as earned from without. Therefore, not taxable in the Philippines. Okay. All right. Last item here, Karen Karenina, a Filipino architect who reported back to KKI's Makati office in June 2017 after KKI's project in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia was completed. Okay, this item, medyo may debate kung ano ang tamang sagot. Number one, we have to note that there is no indication that Karen Karenina was formerly a non-resident citizen. Remember when we discussed the definitions of the types of non-resident citizens in section 22E, yung fourth item, di ba yung returnee, it is required na dati siyang non-resident na bumalik na sa Pilipinas on a permanent basis. Strictly speaking, there is no indication here of that fact, di ba? Sabi lang, bumalik lang si Karen Karenina, hindi natin alam kung nung 2016 siya ay non-resident. No? So, the first answer to this item, which I think, no, in my personal opinion, is more correct, is that Karen Karenina is taxable on her entire compensation for 2017 in the Philippines. Why? Under the tax code, Karen Karenina is considered a resident citizen. And as a resident citizen, she is taxable on all income, whether from within or from without. Therefore, Karen Karenina is is taxable in the Philippines. Okay? Yung alternate answer, meron kasing mga students na nag-consider kay Karen as a non-resident citizen. No, kasi daw, nag-report back siya to Makati's office. But if you consider the length of time, no, so ibig sabihin, January to May, nasa Kuala Lumpur siya. So 5 months lang. And then June to December, or 7 months, nasa Pilipinas siya. So some students, they considered yung June to December lang ang taxable because that is the only part of her income that is deemed as earned from within. So I don't know if kung yan ang isagot nyo, the the examiner will consider it. But ako ang proposed answer ko is the first one. Resident citizen si Karenina. So parang trick question siya in that sense. Alright? So that ends the first portion of income taxes. So please watch parts 2 and 3 of this lecture. So thank you and best of luck in your bar exam.